carry the weight of your responsibility or of responsibility, right? And it's funny because I have a Spider-Man poster, and for those who've seen Spider-Man, the most famous quote of Spider-Man from Ben Parker is, "With great power comes great responsibility," and in the movie or in the comic books, he's talking about his superpower, right? And so you don't really think that's relatable because with great power comes great responsibility. I mean, it's relatable in a way if you were given a position of power, like Spider-Man or Peter Parker, whatever. He was given superpower, right? And if you're given a position of power, it is a great responsibility to hold that power and to use it for good, right? Because when you have power like Spider-Man, he or Spider-Man or Peter Parker, whatever, when you have power like that, then you could easily become a villain, right? And abuse that power. And yeah, so it's relatable in that way. If you were holding a position of power, you don't have to have a superpower, but you could be, I don't know, you could run a business or be a CEO, or not even that, but you could be maybe have an official power, or like a political power, or maybe you're the principal of a school, or maybe you're the manager of a store, or whatever, whatever kind of power. But at least for people like me who are average Joes, and we're just like any other citizen, we don't really have positions of power, right? And so we think this quote, "Great power comes with great responsibility," doesn't relate to us, right? But something that because I study psychology, but something that I've realized is how much responsibility we have just as a human being, right? And how the weight of responsibility alone, and I'm talking when I'm talking about responsibility, I'm talking about everything that you are responsible as a human adult, right? And what I mean by adult, right? Because that is what being an adult is taking on and accepting and handling, carrying the weight of responsibility, right? And so what does that mean? That means paying taxes. That means filing a tax return. That means managing money, saving money. That means holding a job. That means what else does it mean? That means washing your clothes, taking care of yourself, making sure you're eating healthy, making sure let's see, what I'm trying to think of. Make sure you're cleaning your room. Make sure you're brushing your teeth. Make sure you're shaving. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're taking care of your survival needs, right? So it's all of that stuff, right? And I would say responsibility mostly is, for the most part, 90% is in survival, right? Or just mastering survival, mastering the survival mind, right? Is carrying the weight of responsibility, right? And I believe this is where kind of procrastination comes in too. I mean, you could procrastinate with anything, right? But I think the biggest thing is that the weight of responsibility can be too much sometimes, right? It can be like almost too stressful, or too much anxiety, because it's like you don't want to clean your room because it's like you just work the shift at your job and you're worn out from that, or you don't want to or whatever, whatever responsibility that you are neglecting. And responsibility, for the most part, I would say it's the same for every human being. Not exactly the same, but and that you're gonna have people are gonna have there are certain people that's gonna have unique responsibilities. Like for people who have a pet, having a pet is a responsibility, or having a vehicle. You're maintaining that vehicle maintenance is a responsibility. Make sure you're getting an oil change. Make it all of this stuff, which is just taking care of our environment, taking care of ourselves, taking care of the animals that we love, taking care of our coworkers. Like in terms of, if you see something that can make your coworker's job easier, and you notice that they aren't doing it for themselves, you could do it for them, right? So like I'll give you an example, right? And this is kind of like going above and beyond, but this is what I just do. But no, actually, I'm gonna go and talk about that at the end of the video. Mostly, I just want to talk about your responsibility as a human being to take care of yourself. Just that alone, right? Which is relatable to almost everyone, right? It is relatable to everyone. But like I said, the weight of responsibility can be too much sometimes. But something that I've noticed is one of the reasons why I develop addictions such as pornography, such as watching YouTube, watching Netflix, just playing video games, to smoking weed, any kind of drugs, or any dopamine really. The reason why I developed these addictions, or there's actually multiple reasons, and I kind of talked about it in the previous videos, and I'll make more videos talking about it. But you have trauma from the past, and you got what else? You got loneliness, you got boredom, you got low self-esteem, you got responsibility, right? Or running from the future, right? I kind of think of like, okay, so like trauma is like running from the past. Running from your trauma is running from the past. Running from responsibility is running from the future. By running from responsibility, you are running from the future. And I don't think I have it anymore, or I put it up and I need to find it. But I drew like a little sketch, right? And I don't know where I put it, but I need to find it. I drew a little drawing, right? That of and I recommend you guys watch the video on how to create art out of boredom and loneliness, because I kind of talk about it a little bit when I created art. But when I was talking about how I felt when I was from being crushed from the weight of responsibility, also from being traumatized from the past, right? There was a point where I was scared to look in the future, and I was scared to look in the past, and I'm just like stuck, right? It was like a stuck feeling, and I drew it into a drawing, that stuck feeling, right? But I think a lot of people experience that, and they can relate to that. And I will cover trauma more in the future, but I think responsibility right now is more important than trauma. And what I've noticed is, like, when you try to sit alone with your thoughts, right? And you try to sit in peace, or try to get your mind to be in peace alone, right? Which is, I think, every human should try to strive for, right? Because being emotionally needy and needing other people is a, what is the word? I think that's something that everyone should try to overcome, right? Because the better human you become, the more you can love yourself, and the more you make yourself more happy, the more happiness you have to give to people, and the more love you have to give to people, the more you can make people's lives better. And this is kind of where I go on the point of, when I take care of my responsibilities, I can see other people and their responsibilities that they neglect, and I can address it for them and help them kind of figure it out, and I can actually help them with it and make their life easier, right? And I'll go in that in a second, right? It's very important to take care of responsibilities, and what responsibilities you are running from, and you usually use the same excuse every time the responsibility comes up. But the problem is, every time the responsibility comes up, whatever it is, whether it's, hey, I need to take my dog for a walk, or hey, I need to go and do this for my car, whatever, and get this checked out in my car, or whatever it is, right? Or maybe you need to go to the grocery store, maybe you need to go to the store and get a specific item, right? Whatever that responsibility is that you are running from, right? Understand that you put it in the back of your mind, you put it in your subconscious, right, to deal with later. You say, hey, this is important and we need to deal with it, but right now I'm tired. You make whatever excuse. For me, it was like, I'm tired, I just did all this other stuff, and I don't feel like doing it right now. And it would just be a whole bunch of excuses, right? And so you put it in the back of your mind, right? And you're like, okay, we'll deal with that later, right? But your subconscious is like, okay, we'll take that thing and we'll hold it, right? And Dr. K, or Healthy Gamer GG, he had a perfect example of this, right? And what he said is, when you do things like this and you neglect your responsibilities, right? And you keep putting it in the back of your mind to deal with later, what ends up happening is kind of like when you're on a computer. And let's say you're on a computer, right? And you have you got some tabs open, right? And you have your work tab, you have your play tab, you got your friends tab, you got multiple tabs open on a website, right? Whatever it might be, right? And then you have those responsibilities. Each tab is like a responsibility. Each responsibility that you are neglecting is its own tab, right? And what ends up happening is that when you end up neglecting a lot of your responsibilities, a lot of things, and you push it into the back of your mind, you open multiple tabs to save for later, because you're gonna be like, I'm gonna open this tab later, right? And I'll open it and then I'll check it out and I'll deal with it and whatever, right? But what ends up happening is, if you ever been on a computer and you open up multiple tabs, right, and you have multiple tabs open on a website or browser, whatever, the computer starts slowing down. The computer starts crashing almost. And this kind of happens with your mind. because your subconscious is constantly trying to remind you of this thing. You're like, hey, I don't want to think about that. And that takes energy, that takes effort, that takes away your focus too. Focus away from your job, focus away from being present in the moment and dealing with whatever you need to deal with, because your mind's like, hey, remember all these things that you've been putting off and procrastinating on? And it just kind of throws it at you, and you're just like, you get overwhelmed, and you kind of run from it even more, and then you develop more addictions, and your addictions get worse. And so what you need to do is you need to have the habit of dealing with your problems. You need to make a decision in your mind, right? And of course, take it slow, right? With the last video that I uploaded is why you can't be alone with your thoughts. I said that you need to take it slow, right? With these things of dealing with your issues, but acknowledge the fact of like, it's not going to be fixed overnight, that this is something that needs to be worked on constantly, and you have to be putting in the work consistently. And so what I would say is, right, you need to make a decision in your mind to deal with every problem that comes up your mind. And there's going to be times where you can't deal with it right now for whatever excuse you make up, and that is okay. Forgive yourself, but make sure that when it comes back later on, when that thing that you procrastinated on and put in the back of your mind, whatever responsibility, make sure you deal with it later on, because it's just gonna build up even more, and then it's gonna throw off your focus, gonna throw off your energy, and you're just gonna have so many things in your mind and in your subconscious that you are dealing with, right? And what you need to do is make a decision in your mind. Say, hey, especially if you have nothing to do and you're off, we're not even off, off, and you don't have work, you don't have a place to be, you don't have someone to hang out with, you're just at your house, right? Especially when you have free time and you're just on your phone and you don't have anything to do. Especially in those moments, those are key, because okay, so what was I getting at? Okay, yeah, especially in those moments, right? And so when your mind say, hey, we need to deal with this problem, hey, you need to clean your room, hey, your floor's kind of dirty, you need to sweep it, or whatever it is for you, right? In that moment, when it comes up, you make the decision to deal with that problem right then and there, right? And you don't run from it, because when you run from it, you get in the habit of running. You get in the habit of procrastination. Procrastination is a habit. It is not a problem. It is not a personality trait. It is not something that, it is just a habit of thinking, right? Is every time that you think of something that you need to do that you don't feel like doing in the moment, and sometimes you need to do things that you don't feel like doing, but you need to do them. And so you have to do things even though you don't feel like it. That's just life. That's how this shit works. But yeah, so you make the decision, hey, even though I don't feel like it right now, I need to do this. I need to solve this problem, because it will clear my mind. It will give me more peace of mind having this problem dealt with, right? And the more you do that, right, you do one problem at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. One step at a time, right? Don't look, especially if you have a room that's full of mess, and like there's shit everywhere, trash everywhere, clothes everywhere, papers everywhere. Like, especially if you have like a room that's a mess like that, right? It's very easy to look at that room and get very overwhelmed. You're like, oh my God, it's so much work to do. Oh, I don't want to clean it. Like, oh, I'm never gonna get this done. It's gonna take too much time, right? Especially in those moments where the task seems too exhausting or too much to handle in that moment. What you need to do is find one thing that you can do, right? And do that. And then do the other stuff later. Not later, but like, just find one thing that you can do, right? Whether it be, hey, just sweep the floor, and that's all you gotta do. Or take care of this little dresser, right? And just clean this dresser off. Or, hey, just fold up your clothes real quick. Just fold up all your clothes, take all the dirty clothes, and go put them in the washing machine, and fold all the clean clothes, and just do that, right? Just find one thing, just one thing out of the entire mess, right? Just to do that and solve that one problem. And then just focus on that. Just say, hey, this is all I have to do, and then that's it. You can relax, right? And say that to your mind, because you have to, because when you say, hey, I have to clean my entire room, and my entire room is a mess, you are overwhelming yourself, or you can easily overwhelm yourself, and you're going to be more likely to procrastinate and go on YouTube or TikTok or whatever it is, right? And you take it one step at a time, right? And you stay patient, and you say, okay, I'm trying to think where I was gonna go with this. Yeah, and then what would end up happening is when you say, hey, I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna get all my clothes, get all my dirty clothes, wash them, put it in the washing machine, and I'm gonna fold up all my clean clothes, fold them up, not have them in a pile, just random pile of like, I'm gonna organize them, right? Once you do that, you feel a relief, you feel weight come off your shoulder. The weight of responsibility actually comes off. The only reason why you have the weight of responsibility is because you are running from responsibility, right? And yeah, and so when you do that, you take care of that one little problem out of all the problems that you have, right? What will happen is you get more peace of mind, you get more relief, you get more weight off your shoulders, and you feel accomplished, you feel accomplishment, right? And then you also will feel stronger, and you're gonna be more likely after you take that first step, you'll be more likely to take the next step, whether it be sweep the floor, right? And then you'll sweep the floor, and then you get that momentum, you get that snowball going, and then eventually you just start solving problem after problem after problem after problem, right? And there's gonna be some, like for me, I'm not innocent. I'm not perfect by any means. I still sometimes like today, like I got some clothes I need to wash. I got some clothes I need to fold up, and my bed's kind of dirty a little bit, and I need to clean it. But life for me, like any human, I make mistakes, and I can run from responsibility. And yeah, it's just up to you to constantly get yourself in that mindset of being an adult, being able to deal and handle all your problems, right? And that is like what you need to work on. But yeah, what will happen is you start taking care of, you solve one problem, just find one problem that you can take care of. You solve that problem, and you solve the next problem, you solve the next problem. And then something interesting happens. Once you solve all of your problems, and you take care of all your responsibilities, you start helping other people with their responsibilities. And you start being kind more, and you start just being more helpful in general, right? So, and I'll give you an example at work, right? At work, we have I have to wear an apron because I cut meat, or not cut meat, but I work in a butcher shop, right? And we have to wear these aprons in order to not get blood on us, right? And when we grab the apron off of the top shelf or whatever, it's when you pull it, they're all connected and tangled and stuff like that, and you have to like pull all of the aprons out. A lot of them are in a bag. First of all, you have to open the bag, then you get all the aprons out, and they're all tangled and stuff. You have to untangle them, and it's like a whole process, right? It makes every worker there just take more time, and it frustrates them, right? And I saw this problem, not only that I have to deal with, but I saw a problem that all of the workplace has to deal with, right? And I was like, how can I make this easier for me and everyone else, right? Because the only reason I got in that mindset to solve that problem, because I never even questioned, I never thought it, because I just go through the motions. I just work, they say work smarter, not harder, but for me, I just, do what I just do, right? And I don't think too much. I'm just trying to do and do and do it. Like that's just my mindset, right? But when I took care of all my problems, I was able to see other people's problems, or not even other people's problems, but problems that we all deal with, right? And so you take these aprons, right? And I was like, how can I make this easier for everyone, right? And so what I did, I opened up the bag and I took each apron and I rolled them into a ball, right? And I stacked the ball on top, and I would do a giant pyramid of a ball of apron. So you take the ball of apron, and they're not tangled anymore because I balled them up. And you take that ball and then you throw it, not throw it, but like you take it and then throw it like that, and then the apron straightens out, and then you can put it on, and it makes everyone's life easier, right? And now I do that every time, or not every time. There'll be moments where I'm like, oh, I want to get out of work, and we'll go home, and I'm not trying to do that because that's gonna take too much time. But when I'm present and I handle all my responsibilities, and I'm just enjoying the moment, I'm cruising, and the new word that I'm using a lot is groovy, and I'm just grooving. When I'm just grooving like that, I'm not in a rush state. I'm not in an impatient state, and I can handle those problems because first of all, I make more money by doing that because I'm doing something that takes time, but also I'm doing something that will benefit the workplace. And so yeah, and it's just small things like that, right? Of taking care of your responsibility. And I'm trying to think of like another example, or not even another example, but just what's more to add. Yeah, you just ask yourself, and your brain will tell you what problem do I need to take care of? What is the most important problem? Or even if not even the most important problem, right? But you could do that. Hey, what's the most important problem that I need to take care of that needs to be handled immediately, right? But a lot of times it might be a big problem. Or you could say, hey, what is a small problem that I can easily do and I can do and I will do, right? And what is a small problem that I can easily do right now, right? And you do that, and then what will happen is you take care of that small problem, and then it keeps building. And you just take that first step, then you take the next step, and then that snowball will, you get the momentum going, and then it manifests, not manifests, you get in the habit of problem solving. You get out of the habit of procrastination and you get in the habit of problem solving, right? And that will just make you more happier as a human being, and you'll make everyone's life easier. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. And make sure you take care of your responsibility, carry the weight of responsibility, whatever. And yeah, don't run from your problems. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.